be a practice day in nature. And the announcement, I believe, went out last night, so you can check that out. It's probably on the website also. And tonight is our usual night for precepts, but there will not be any precepts tonight. We'll do it next month. So, and for the people on the screen, well, let's see. For the people here in the Zendo, there's paper on a couple of chairs here that just for you to be aware of. You don't have to get them right now. And then persons on the screen, if they could have a piece of paper, that would be great. A paper and pencil so that you can write something. So, okay, so let's do the before lecture chant. An unsurpassed, penetrating, and perfect Dharma is rarely met with, even in 100,000 million kalpas, having it to see and listen to remember and accept, I vow to taste the truth of the Tathagata's words. So the computer actually, for the people on the screen, will be kind of moving around a little bit, just so that you can be able to see everything that is happening. And so Marilyn, actually, you can come and get it now.
Oh.
Put it on. I guess I don't need to. Will you put it on?
I'm sorry, what's the question?
I guess it's fine the way it is. So go ahead.
Okay. Where would you like me to stand?
By that empty chair.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hi.
Okay. So.
I'm showing, where am I pointing it at?
Well, point it at me for right now, and everybody can see online.
Yeah. Can you turn it a little bit, Gretchen?
Sure.
Oh, that's better. Thank you.
Great, thanks.
Yeah. You're okay. Is that it?
Yeah, just hold on, and I'm going to do a little introduction, and then I'm going to do the koan. So, Zhaozhou was a master Chan teacher who lived in the 9th century China. And he became a monk at 18 and found Nanchuan, and Nanchuan became his teacher. And so at age 50, though, Nanchuan died. And Zhaozhou started a wandering life until he was 80. And when he was 80, he founded a school for monks. And he taught until he was 120 years old. Amazing. So the koan that we're going to be talking about is a koan from his wandering life. And it's called Zhaozhou Tests Two Hermits. Script. Okay. So, Zhaozhou was wandering around the land.
You don't have to talk loud because you're going to walk away from the
Yeah.
mic.
Okay, can people on screen hear me? Okay, good. Okay, I'll talk louder. So Zhaozhou was wandering around the land, and then he went to where there was a hermitage. And he walked up to the hermit, and he asked, "Monk, do you have it? Do you know? Is it here?" And Zhaozhou said, "The water is shallow here, not a good place to moor a boat." And so Zhaozhou left. And he kept wandering around in the land. And he came to another hermitage. And he went up to the hermit and he said, "Monk, do you have it? Do you know, is it here?" And Zhao said, "You are able to let go. You are able to hold tight. You are able to kill. You are able to bring to life." And Zhao bowed deeply. And that's the end of the poem. So you can bring my computer back.
It's Mike.
Or your computer. You can bring your computer back. Thank you, Marilyn.
Adjusted okay for you?
It's perfect. Let me get to where I'm at in the story. Oh, one more thing. So the Koans' main character is Zhao. And we've heard quite a bit about him over the last couple of weeks because Chris has talked about Zhao. You might remember Nan Chuan Kills the Cat, where Zhao puts the sandals on his head after he heard about the monastery cat. And the koan about whether a dog has Buddha nature is also attributed to Zhao. So Zhao is said to have a good sense of humor. And also, he's described as having a tongue with no bone in it. And I was thinking, what does that mean? But there is a meaning of it. I could find a meaning. That was really interesting. And it says that it means that the tongue is not restricted in any way, and so the owner can freely speak. So maybe that's why people really like Zhao, his stories, because he's sort of humorous and also frequently quirky. So the story that we're looking at today is not a very well-known story. It's it's called Zhao Tests Two Hermits, and we have two similar hermits and two similar meetings, and two raised fists, and two very different responses. So I was thinking, well, what does this mean? Where are we going with this? And so I just wanted to say one thing about koans in general, and it was something that Marilyn brought last week, and it was from Norman Fisher, and he's talking about poems, but poems and koans are very similar. Poems are not necessarily supposed to do you any good. People think that poems have some meaning embedded in them and that the meaning can do you some good. But I think it's the opposite. If poems do you any good, it is because they transcend meaning, and maybe even they muddle it up. Words may not mean what they seem to mean in the way they seem to mean it. And it may be that our strong grip on meaning is one of the main ways we suffer and make others suffer. So we should loosen our sense of meaning. We should recognize that meaning is a kind of tyranny, an ideology with which we can oppress ourselves and others. It's not that we need to get rid of meaning. We can't. But we have to learn how to hold it lightly. And this is my idea of what poems and koans are supposed to do. Loosen our grip on meaning. So sometimes we need to read poems and koans several times because they make us scratch our head and say, what is this? I don't get it. And Norman says that we need to hold the meanings lightly. This is very good advice because for me, I often jump to conclusions or don't have the whole picture. Holding meaning lightly means to me that I have to admit that I don't see the whole picture. There is a saying that I often try to remember that I learned many years ago, and it is, try eating on the other side of the basket. I think it is a Native American saying. To me, it says, if you just eat from your side of the basket all the time, you miss out on experiencing the whole picture. So it is asking us to be open. But back to the koan. The thing that initially grabbed me about this koan was the question, do you have it? Oh, what? Do I have what? And the other translations are, do you know, and is it here? It reminded me a story that Robert Aiken wrote in his book, Mind of Clover. And I just want to read you this little story that he wrote, or that he shared. This book, Mind of Clover, is a book on Buddhist ethics, and he covers every precept in here. And this little story is from the precept of not killing. So he says, speaking truth to power, the ideal of the society of friends is nonviolent and inclusive. Recently, leaders of a peace organization arranged to meet with a senior military officer who had broad authority. I don't know why he agreed to meet with them, and I didn't hear what the outcome of the meeting was either. I was just told about the discussions in the organization before the meeting took place. The delegation had to figure out what they were going to say to this guy. So they had this conversation where they said, oh, maybe we should do this. Or, well, no, I think we should do that. And they were going back and forth. And after role-playing different scenarios, the members gave up and decided just to open the conversation with the question, how's it going? In other words, with your truly awesome power, with nuclear war a possibility of something you might decide to do in an emergency, how are you bearing up? When we speak from the same side of the counter in this way, when we are human beings together, the we-they dichotomy falls away and peace has a chance. So it's kind of like, to me, Jiaozhou could be asking the hermits, how are you bearing up? Jiaozhou is holding the whole situation very lightly, being open to whatever happens. He couches his responses to the hermits in comments that are outside of the box. It's like he is saying, have you considered this? He's not assigning anything. He's not being presumptuous about knowing the right answer. It also reminded me of a situation I had when I was working in home care. I was visiting a patient in his home. He was convinced that he was about to die. The doctor said, The doctors had done all the tests and the scans, his vital signs were fine, his blood work was fine, but he was still sure that he was going to die. I went to visit him and check him over, and everything seemed in good shape. His son, who lived in France, had come to the United States because his father had told him that he felt like he was about to die. After I finished visiting his dad, I left his room and came into the living room where his son and his wife were waiting. The son was very distressed and anxious. He told me, "I don't know what to do. I came home to see my father, who is telling me that he is about to die. But I will need to return to my work in France. I don't know what to do. What if he dies while I'm in France? And I will not be there." Usually, when I'm visiting patients, I give them information. I guide them into how to take care of themselves and instruct them in how to minimize side effects of the medications and make sure that they eat better. It's all kind of data-driven. But the son was asking for something else. He was sharing his deep self, his grief, his fear, and his desire to be of use. So I said to him that he was with his father now. Be with him now. You may need to return to France, and your father may die, and you may not be here. But even though you are not physically by his side, you are always by his side, no matter what. And I don't know if what I said was helpful at all. I only saw that family once, and I never heard what happened.
Mm-hmm.
I tried, but I may have failed completely. For me, it was an attempt to respond to the felt sense in the son's question. There was a sense of not knowing for both of us. So, back to the koan, there is a matter of the raised fist. Fists can have a lot of meaning. Fists can be solidarity, or threat, or I'm ready, or get the heck out of here. But the two hermits did exactly the same gesture. And again, I think that Jiaozhou is giving us an invitation to wander outside the normal way of seeing things. And really, I really don't know exactly I don't have any explanation about what the fists mean. But it's just something to think about. But Jiaozhou did respond to the hermits. The water here is too shallow to moor a boat. You are able to let go. You are able to hold tight. You are able to kill. You are able to bring to life. On the surface, it seems like maybe one hermit is not doing so good, and the other is practically a Buddha. But if you take a moment to reflect on the responses, maybe Jiaozhou was telling the first hermit that he was perhaps mastering things, but that he didn't want him to cling to that idea. And the other was possibly struggling, and Jiaozhou wanted to encourage him to carry on. This reminded me of a short statement that Suzuki Roshi said in his book, Not Always So. And it's actually from the chapter, Not Always So. He says, I think I understand why you practice Zazen. Most of you are seeking something. You seek what is true and real. To seek for a great teaching like Buddhism is to seek for something good. But whatever you find, you will be like a sightseer. Even though you don't travel in your car, spiritually you are sightseeing. Oh, what a beautiful teaching. This is a really true teaching. To be captivated by the teaching doesn't help at all. Trust in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha in its true sense. In other words, don't necessarily trust the teaching. Trust what you see, because the secret of the teaching is it's not always so. It may be so, but not always so. One thing that rings true for me about what Suzuki Roshi says is we are all deluded. None of us see the whole picture. And I think that when we pause and take the time to reflect and look for what comes up, we may be able to get a glimpse of something beyond the surface reality that we usually find ourselves in. When we see that little glimpse, we may want to learn more and try to understand more. There were several poems that were written about this koan, and by these 3 female Chan masters. And I wanted to read them to you just so that you get a little different perspective on them. Chan Master Mao Zhang said, "Shallow water is not the place to moor your boat. Able to let go, able to hold tight, the proof comes naturally. A blow of the mallet shatters the double barrier, filling the canals, clogging the gullies, no one to face." The third line, she says, "A blow of the mallet shatters the double barrier." And there's an interpretation of that in the book here. And it says, after passing through a barrier, one creates a second barrier by clinging to the first. Chan Master Baochi says, "Face to face, show your ability. It is time for Dharma combat. There are no scales light enough to measure trifling amounts. My breast surges with hot blood. Can anyone understand this?" That's a good question. She goes on to say, "There is only the clear breeze and the bright moon who know." And she actually goes on to another stanza and says, "A round of 3 blows without intimacy or distance." And it's kind of like intimacy is very close and distance is very far away. And maybe she's just talking about something in the middle way. A foot of water can rise up with a wave of 8,000 feet. Shatter the layered gates and walk along the living path. Leave it for the 4 seas to stir up the weapons of war. And finally, Chan Master Zukui writes, "In both places there has been set a hidden trap for the tiger." And I thought about that, and I wondered if the hermits, this was not the first time the hermits had met Zhao, that maybe they kind of knew what was going on. Between holding in and letting go, just a shade of difference. Don't you know that the distinction lies beyond the closed fist? And I was thinking, this distinction that lies beyond the closed fist may be like the heart. What's deeper? Then her final stanza is, who is that heavenly steed chasing in pursuit of the wind? And I think about that, and I think continual practice. Maybe that's what she's saying. So, let's see, what time is it? Oh, we got a few minutes. One of the things that I thought about doing was to have people write a poem. And you're going, oh no, I have to write a poem. Don't worry about it. I have a little exercise for the people on the screen. If they have paper and pencil available. And for the people on either side of the Zendo, there's paper and pencil and something to write on. You might want to pass those out.